dear students, welcome back to my channel New Horizons by Ranjini Dasgupta. Today we will discuss about the poem The Tale of the Melon City by Vikram Seth, which is a part of class 11 CBSE syllabus, in which we will study in details about the poet, the theme of the poem, the message delivered, the central idea, the stanza-wise summary of the poem, and the poetic devices used. For your convenience, I have added timestamps in the description. If you wish to watch any segment again, you can just click on that particular timestamp to go through it. So, without further delay, let's get started. Let us now study something about the poet. Vikram Seth is an Indian novelist and poet, travel writer, children's writer, biographer and memoirist. The striking feature of Seth's poetry is its craft. He has been called a neo-formalist and has been hailed as a writer of polished poetry. He uses rhyme and meter and particularly writes sonnets. He employs contemporary idioms and a modern speaking self-style. There is a lightness of touch in his poems even when he reflects serious subjects, which makes it wonderful for refreshing poetry. Now, the theme. Through this poem, the poet satires on people who are in power. He has amusingly presented the idea that it does not matter to the people who the king, ruler or the head of the state is, with the understanding that he lets them live leniently in peace and liberty. The message of this poem? The poem gives us the message that how by thoughtless action people sometimes choose an irresponsible government. People need to be wise and careful in choosing their government, which in turn should be responsible and transparent towards the people. Now, let us discuss the central idea. The poem follows the story of its just and placid king who tries to be a model for an extremely liberal form of justice and largely succeeds in a most unusual way. It is a witty jab at powerful people. The poet has mocked the notion that it makes no difference to the people who their ruler, king or the head of the state is, as long as he allows them to live in peace, freedom and most importantly in their minds. Now let us move on with a stanza-wise summary of the poem. Stanza 1. In the city of which I sing, there was a just and placid king. The king proclaimed an arch should be constructed that triumphantly would span the major thoroughfare to edify spectators there. The poet talks about the city which was under the rule of a just and placid king. He was well known for his fair and calm decisions. One day, he ordered his men to build an arch on the main road. He felt that it would look good and the spectators would look and admire that arch. Stanza 2. The workmen went and built the thing. They did so since he was the king. The king rode down the thoroughfare to edify spectators there. Under the arch, he lost his crown. The arch was built too low. A frown appeared upon his placid face. The king said, "This is a disgrace. The chief of builders will be hanged." The rope and gallows were arranged. The workmen followed his orders and built that arch. When it became ready, the king went to see it, and to his shock and surprise, his crown fell hitting the low-built arch. The king became angry as the crown fell as it was a disgrace for him. His expressions changed and his mood got spoilt. He ordered for the chief builders to be hanged till death. To fulfill their majesty's orders, the ropes and the gallows were arranged. Stanza 3. The chief of builders was led out. He passed the king. He gave a shout. O king, it was the workmen's fault. Oh, said the king, and called a halt to the proceedings, being just and placider now, he said, I must have all the workmen hanged instead. The workmen looked surprised and said, O king, you do not realize the bricks were made of the wrong size. They brought the chief builders to the king. The chief builders, on seeing the frowning and angry expression on the king's face, all shouted and blamed the workmen. When the workmen were called, they said that they were not at fault and added that the bricks were not of the right size. Stanza 4. Summon the masons, said the king. The masons stood there quivering. It was the architect, they said. The architect was summoned. When they all got to know that the bricks were of the wrong size, the king sent for the mason. The mason was scared to the brim and blamed the architects. Hence, the architects were called by the king. Stanza 5. When architect said his majesty, I do ordain that you shall be hanged, said the architect, O king, you have forgotten one small thing. You made certain amendments to the plans when I showed them to you. The king heard this. The king saw red. In fact, he nearly lost his head. But being a just and placid king, he said, this is a tricky thing. I need some counsel. Bring to me the wisest man in this country. The king told the architects that they all are at fault for building this low arched door. The architect exclaimed and told that the main culprit was the king himself, who should be hanged for this blame. The king then called for the wisest man in the city. Stanza 6. The wisest man was found and brought, nay, carried to the real court. He could not walk and could not see, so old and therefore wise was he. But in a quavering voice he said, the culprit must be punished. Truly, the arch it was that banged the crown off, and it must be hanged. The people all found the wisest man in the city, and he was brought in front of the king in the royal court. He was too old to walk and see properly. With his age and experience, he concluded that the arch should be hanged till death, as the main culprit seemed to be the low arch. Stanza 7. To the scaffold the arch was led, when suddenly a councillor said, How can we hang so shamefully? What touched your head, your majesty? True, mused the king. By now the crowd, restless, was muttering aloud. The king perceived their mood and trembled, and said to all who were assembled, Let us postpone consideration of finer points like guilt. The nation wants a hanging. Hanged must be someone, and that immediately. After listening to what the wise man said, they all got ready to punish the concrete arch. One of the ministers exclaimed that it would not look good that anyone or anything should touch the head of the majesty. The king, along with the royal members, found it to be disgraceful, so they all decided to postpone the decision of hanging. The people were helpless and in a state of confusion. They all decided that they want the guilty to be hanged, so they needed to wait for the culprit to be found. Stanza 8. The noose was set up somewhat high, each man was measured by and by. But only one man was so tall, he fitted one man, that was all. He was the king, his majesty was therefore hanged by royal decree. They prepared a noose, and whosoever's head fit the noose would be hanged, and he or she would be declared as the culprit. The noose was set up very high, and only the tallest man could reach there. Unluckily, the tallest man and the culprit was found out to be none other than the king himself. The people all prepared for the hanging, and finally the king was hanged till death. Stanza 9. Thank goodness we found someone, said the ministers, for if instead we had not, the unruly town might well have turned against the crown. Long live the king, the ministers said. Long live the king is dead. The ministers of the royal court heaved a sigh of relief as they had done their job. They knew that if they did not find the guilty and punish them, the people would have reservations about their power. It was very ironic that they all said, "Long live the king." They wanted that the king should live for long, and ultimately he was the one to be hanged due to the low-built arch. Stanza 10. They pondered the dilemma then, being practical-minded men, sent out the heralds to proclaim in his former majesty's name. The next to pass the city gate will choose the ruler of our state. As is our custom, this will be enforced with due ceremony. Now the question arose in the minister's mind about how to choose the new ruler. As they were reasonable, they sent out messengers to declare that the one who passes under the arch first would choose the next ruler, who will be crowned king with immediate effect. Stanza 11. A man passed by the city gate, an idiot. The guards cried, "Wait! Who is to be the king? Decide." "A melon," the idiot replied. This was his standard answer to all questions. He liked melons. "You are now our king," the ministers said, crowning a melon. Then they led the melon to the throne and reverently set it down. The one who passed the city gate was none other than an idiot. The guard stopped him and asked the name of the next ruler. To this, he replied that the next ruler would be a melon. They did not argue about it any further and said the same in the royal court. The man actually loved melons very much, so that is what occupied his mind. And he suggested that a melon should be made the king. The ministers did not pay any heed to this fact, and they crowned the melon as their new king. The last stanza. This happened years and years ago. When now you ask the people so, your king appears to be a melon. How did this happen, they say? Well, on account of customary choice, if His Majesty rejoice. In being a melon, that's okay with us, for who are we to say what he should be, as long as he leaves us in peace and liberty? The principles of laissez-faire seem to be well established there. In the concluding lines, we come to know that the melon became the king, and when anyone asked about how all this happened, people all replied that it was a customary choice. Their rules and regulations forced them to do so. But now they all were happy and lived accordingly without any restrictions and interference. Moving on to the poetic devices used in this poem. The first one is alliteration, which is the use of the same sound at the beginning of words that are close together. Example, long live, workmen went. The second poetic device is repetition, which is the repetition of words and phrases for poetic effect. Example of repetition in this poem, long live the king. The third poetic device is inversion, which is the reversal of the normal order of words and phrases in a sentence for poetic effect. Example, truly the arch it was that. The next one is onomatopoeia, which is the formation of a word from a sound associated with what is named. Example, muttering, quivering. With this, we come to the end of today's video. You will be glad to know that my online and offline English coaching classes are going on, and anyone who wishes to get detailed notes of the chapters and the poems is always welcome to join. The details of my online and offline classes are given in the description. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe to get a regular view of my videos.